Welcome to the StockMiner.com studios. I'm your StockMiner, Brian Johnson. And what can I say? More of the same. You can see the bulls and the bears really duking it out in through here. It's only a matter of time here, though, to see who's going to win in the short term, and at least in the short term. You can see what we have ahead of this, move back down, move back up, and eventually what are we doing? We're working ourselves into what's called a symmetrical triangle. So you can see, if we draw some lines here, draw some lines here, it's just kind of a big triangle that it's getting ready to bust out of. Is it up? Is it down? Nobody knows. Symmetrical triangles are actually neutral in their stance. I would, because of the placement of the symmetrical triangle, I would give it a little bit more of a neutral to bullish stance, as of course. But until we see the breakout, we won't know. And that is still up above these areas. We did not breach that 11,200 area. Certainly did not breach the 11,250, nor did we get back below this 10,875. So we got a little bit of action. Some good action to start the day on the move down. Some good intraday action on the way up. But overall, for you swing traders, you're still stuck in limbo, waiting for something more major to happen within the markets themselves. We do not see that yet. We did get very close to another retest of the 20-day moving average. That's the point that it turned around and started heading the other direction. So you can see where we're kind of starting this little bit of a drop on the rollover. But until we break these levels, guys, there's just no sense putting your money one way or the other until we are absolutely sure of the breakout. The NASDAQ, of course, strong as always. Pull back, bulls buy it right back up again. We are back and above this 2120-ish area, but you can see the gap up today took us above 2130, only to see it rip straight back down again, finishing right at 2130. So 2125, that was an entry to the long. Above 2130 was an entry to the long side. It's still not a bad trade if you happen to be in it, but I'd be very, very cautious. You know, I don't like holding overnights in these markets. Anything can happen. Let's wait and see if we get another opportunity to take that trade up above 2130 tomorrow. Play that back into the 2140, 2145-ish area on the NASDAQ. You can see we're closing in on some very, very staunch overhead resistance. It is up to you if you want to take the long at this point. It is at and very close to a heavy, heavy overhead resistance area. It's really, your call. A lot of times I'll sit out of these. Anything to the long side up in these higher areas, I'll just sit out of and wait for that break to happen, either up or usually down. I'll go ahead and just wait for the pullback and not take the chance. I'm not trying to squeeze pennies out of the market. So I don't really care about the last few cents of a market move. I would rather prepare myself for the dollars in the moves down than the pennies in the remaining moves up. And that's where I think we are right now. We're into the pennies of the last remaining moves up. So you want to be very cautious with your trading. NASDAQ on a weekly, you can see above here. We'll see where this finishes at the end of tomorrow. That's, of course, a weekly candle, so anything can happen here. On a 60-minute, move up, move down, move up. That is putting us into that symmetrical triangle that we're seeing on all the other indices right now. Well, the Dow and the SPX anyway. And you can see if we can get back above 1190, then maybe we see a little bit bigger breakout. We could even blow past 1196 actually, but above 1190, you want to be careful at 1196. Above 1196, I'd watch, 1205-ish area, and then the 10, 12, 20, somewhere up in there. But those are the areas to be watching coming into tomorrow's trading. From a daily, same thing. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4 days of wicks we're getting. The bears pull it down, bulls push it up. Bulls push it up. Bulls and bears kind of worked out to an equal day to day with the doji as it is. A shake hands, go home type of a moment today. Wicks, either way, that signifies to me a big fight. There is a huge fight going on here between who's going to rip it higher or who wants to tear it lower. Right now, nobody's taking control. Nobody's really stepped in and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Let's just call it good and head that direction for a while. All right. So until that happens, we got to watch these levels. I still like it below these areas here or above these areas here. But man, got to be very, very cautious. We're in just a sideways range right now. Has been good. These wicks are great for intraday traders. They are awful for swing traders. So you'll want to just sit on your hands and wait for a break before you go back in. From a weekly, we are holding below the 200. Let's see if that actually manages to do that at the end of tomorrow. Fridays tend to be a good barometer as to where things might go the following week. In most cases, we will, though, find at the end of a Friday, they leave us hanging. The markets like to leave us in limbo. Are we in the middle of a 3-up, or are we just getting ready for a 3-wave down? Are we going to hold this, or are we going to break above it come first thing in the week? That could be exactly where we end up too, guys. The markets love to leave you in limbo at the end of a Friday, but during Friday's trading, especially towards the end of the day, it's fun to watch and get in maybe a little bit of the action and see if they give you any kind of a direction as to where it might go next week. Now, we do have some numbers coming out tomorrow. Maybe that makes a difference one way or the other. Point is, wait for the breaks before you take any kind of entries. VIX still struggling. Look, we're right back to the top of it again. Look, back to the top. Oh, look, right back to the top. Yeah, it hasn't made a difference. Every time we've hit the top, it has held. It has held. Now, is this time the charm? Is this the time it's going to break up and out of this thing and the markets are going to come crashing back down? We don't know. But pushes back up above 2350 and ultimately closes above this area. Yeah, I think we might have to tip our hat more that direction then. We'll have to give it to the bears at that point. But until we get that close, look, we're getting wicks out and above the blue area, but until we get closes above the blue area, I'm not really all that concerned about it quite yet. This break is coming. This getting pinched, it's going to happen. Could be tomorrow, could be early next week, could be right after the elections. Any of those times are obviously, would make total logical places to see this thing hop. So if you want to Elliott wave this, we could be in a 1, 2, 3, getting ready for a 3-up. We could be in an ABC correction. We're getting ready for a down. There is no way to tell for sure what's going to happen here. So you wait for the break. Don't just throw money at it. Wait for the break. See if we get it in the next few days. Weekly, same thing here, showing us the exact same stuff. Apple on a 60 was down about $2.59. I like what I'm seeing here, though. This is still a falling wedge. It's still bullish, ultimately, for Apple. We broke the 305 mark, but notice how we couldn't close below the 305 mark. We came down to almost touch the 300 area today. Little bit of a jab below this thing, but now we're right back into it. Back above 310, still a decent place to get yourself long. Back below 300 and 295, still my marks to the downside on Apple. We did close on, at, below, whatever you want to call it here on the blue line. Point is, we held the 20-day moving average. This thing is still just in a very, 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 very slow pullback. It's bullish. It's still bullish right up in here until otherwise proven to get below 300, then 295. Those are my marks to the short side. Otherwise, Apple's doing just fine right now. It still has the possibility to creep itself back up. Wait for those levels to be broken. Here we have it on a weekly too. You can see 2 red candles, but it really isn't that big of a deal. In the grand scheme, look at this. We've had a big white candle up here. 2 small red candles mean nothing at this point. Got to wait for the breaks of those levels. Let's see where that closes tomorrow. FAS on a 60. I'll have some new lines for you next week, but ultimately what we're doing is this is just slowly grinding its way downwards, but it is ultimately overall a bullish move. Here you can see us still caught within this triangle, waiting for breaks one way or the other, as we have been all week long. Same thing here on the FAZ. It's slowly grinding its way upwards, but that is not bullish ultimately. That is bearish. It's just waiting for the bears to take over. Got to get back above these levels, 12 and 13, below 12 or above 13 for your breaks. Those are going to be your indications here. As you can see, we are in what appears to be here, not a symmetrical triangle, but more of a falling wedge. So little different, kind of conflicting patterns I'm getting here on the FAZ and the FAS. You would think they would match, but in this case, I'm just not seeing it the same way. Just not right now. So we're going to wait for these breaks and take our entries there. now I'm going to say below 1175. This blue line has dropped far enough and we haven't done anything here, but stay within this wedge. Below 1175 to the short side and above 13 for your long on FAZ. That'll do it for today's video, guys. It's just more of the same. These are just forming symmetrical triangles. Dow, SPX, all look the same. Wait for the breaks. Take your entries then. If you're intraday trading, man, you've had some good opportunities both down and up, but for you swing traders, you're just stuck. You're stuck in limbo. Sit on your hands and wait. It'll be well worth it when it happens, but wait. Let it break these overhead areas or these areas down here, and then we'll catch something. And we'll see if maybe we can get some sort of swing trading opportunities before the elections happen next week. All right, have a good one. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.